12 o'clock right now on this Thursday, and here at CBS4 we are following some breaking news outside of Richmond, a shooting outside the intermediate school there. Our news gathering partners, the Indy Star, saying that first 911 call came in at 8:21 from Dennis Intermediate School. That's just 6 minutes after classes began there. At 8:39, the Richmond Community School District tweeted all RCS buildings were on lockdown. At 9:02, the district then updated us that Dennis Intermediate School was in fact secure. 9:11 this morning, all students at that school were reported safe, that the suspect was the only one injured. We now know that suspect, who was a teenager, took his own life outside the school after exchanging gunshots with police. We do have live team coverage of the shooting now, and also the reunion between parents and their children. My co-anchor Frank Mickens has joined us live outside of one of the Richmond schools there. And Frank, appreciate you being out there this afternoon. Looks like an active scene still behind you.
So what we've been seeing here since we've arrived, Angela, is that continuing investigation. In fact, we've got federal authorities here, ATF, FBI. We know that state police are here, Richmond Police, Wayne County Sheriff's Department. They're all here doing their part in the investigation, still piecing together exactly what happened here. And one of the points that have been made by state police is that this is one of those perfect examples of why it's so important to say something if you see something. We're going to learn a little bit more about how many days ago it was that parents started hearing something like this could happen, and authorities were waiting for this young man when he arrived this morning. So right now, investigators still trying to answer some unanswered questions that we have, particularly the motive. Why would a young person do something like this, exchange gunfire with law enforcement? Let's get a scene setter here with Alexa Green. Alexa's been out here virtually since the very beginning. And Alexa, kind of tell us what we know about this case right now.
Yeah, Frank, as you mentioned, there's still a lot of unknowns at this point. A lot of the information we've been getting this morning is coming through Indiana State Police. And they tell us it was early this morning they received a tip from somebody that armed suspect, that teenager, was actually going to come here to the school and commit some act of violence. Again, still a lot of unknowns exactly about what that threat was. And that's when Richmond police officers, they started heading this way. They started coming here to Dennis Intermediate. State police, they say then when those officers arrived outside the school, they encountered that suspect, and at some point shots were exchanged. At this point, it's unclear how many. State police say that suspect, that teenager, then took his own life. State police have been saying, though, this situation could have been a lot worse. They are crediting the person who tipped them off for saving so many lives.
No students were injured, and no officers, and mainly because someone knew something and they said something.
So this noon hour, still so many questions remain. It's unclear why exactly that student was coming to that school. It's unclear at this point if that teen suspect was a student here. So still a lot of unanswered questions. This investigation obviously still very much in its early stages. The good news, Frank, we know all students, though, are safe.
And that was the main question a lot of us had when we first heard that, oh my goodness, you're kidding me. There's another incident like this happening in our schools. It was May when we had Noblesville West and all of that. But in this case, we didn't have anyone shot inside the building, which is good. Which is interesting, though, because earlier we were hearing that this happened inside, and now we're hearing he never got into the building.
Still a lot of conflicting reports. Right now, state police are telling us those officers confronted that teen suspect outside the school. That's when those shots were exchanged. Then tragically, that teen suspect then took his life.
All right, Alexa, thank you so very much. So right now, we're going to get to where parents have been told to go and pick up their children after the kids were bussed away from this scene at Dennis Intermediate and taken to Richmond High School. That's where we find Melissa Crash. In fact, Melissa, you're at Civic Hall Performing Arts Center, where parents are going to be coming now and have been coming to pick up their kids.
Frank, that's right. We're outside. We actually were just moved across the street as school officials and police are working to reunite those parents with their children. I'm going to step out of the scene here just so we can zoom up a little more so you can see what's happening. As you can see, it's very quiet, not much going on. A lot of police vehicles with Richmond Police, Indiana State Police. There have been a few reuniting of parents and some kids. I think most of them have been like high school students. But let's take some video of what we saw earlier. One parent said, again, this could have been a lot worse. I spoke with another parent who says she got a text from one of her children inside while she was at work saying, basically, "Mommy, I'm scared." The parents I spoke with said they are thankful of Richmond Police of their quick response. Now parents say they just want answers.
I want answers too. You know, I want to know what my kids seen, what they heard. They gotta be scared.
Now, most of the parents that I also spoke with, some are very frustrated some parents are frustrated as they come out of the building because they're trying to, figure out what happened. They're hearing a lot of different stories and conflicting rumors and whatnot. So they're as well just waiting to figure out what exactly happened here this morning. I just learned that all schools will resume classes except for the intermediate school. Now, if parents come here to pick up their students, if they didn't go to the middle school, they were at the high school or other schools, they are able to pick up their students as well. However, those classes will resume. We're going to stay here all day trying to figure out what happened, so make sure to tune in tonight. Reporting live at the Civic Hall Center, I'm Melissa Crash. Back to you, Frank.
All right, Melissa, thanks so very much. And again, parents had been hearing something like this could happen. Law enforcement were informed that something like this can happen. And again, they were waiting for this young man when he got here this morning. And it looks like because of that, a worse situation did not happen here at Dennis Intermediate School. Of course, we're going to stay out here. We're going to continue to get information as more of that starts coming out. Questions might continue to be raised, and we're going to make sure we get all the details that are available for you. For now, Angela, we're going to send it back to you in the studio.
Frank, thank you again for being out there this afternoon. And as Frank just mentioned, this is still kind of a fluid situation. I do just want to reiterate, no other students were injured this morning. We are unsure exactly of the circumstances behind maybe the motive and the identity of this student or the suspect, I guess I should say, as well, just because we don't even know if this person was actively enrolled at Dennis Intermediate School. So that's something we're trying to find out right now. I will point out as well, Richmond had requested 22 metal detectors from the governor earlier this year. We're trying to find out whether they got all 22 of those, but again, the suspect never made it inside the building anyways. And we're also hearing word that that school had one armed security guard on campus. So we're trying to find out too, was that individual at all involved in this incident? About 1,393 students attend Dennis Intermediate School. So you can imagine the chaos trying to get every one of those students over to the high school. Obviously, parents very concerned. We will have our entire team on this all day long and have more from the scene at 5 o'clock this evening. Meanwhile, Governor Eric Holcomb tweeting about this incident, saying, quote, "I've directed the Indiana State Police to work with all local responders at the shooting at Dennis Intermediate School. We will continue to work with the school and Superintendent Dr. McCormick to do everything possible to assist the community and support all those impacted by this terrible situation." Our coverage continues at Dennis Intermediate online as well. We've done several Facebook Lives trying to update moms and dads in that area. You will also find the latest information of what we know online at CBS4Indy.com. Also your free CBS4 Indy app. An update on this situation coming up later in our newscast and again later this evening.
Live from CBS4, your news at 5 starts right now.
Someone en route to do a commit a violent act here at Dennis Intermediate School here in Richmond.
Then we heard gunshots, dogs barking.
Yeah, it was. I was shaking. Every parent that they have a phone number for got a phone call.
Today is a tragic day in Richmond.
This is not okay. This is not okay.
Change must come.
A tragically familiar story tonight, another deadly shooting at an Indiana school. This time, it unfolded at an intermediate school in Richmond. A 14-year-old boy is dead tonight after opening fire as he made his way inside Dennis Intermediate School. Police confronted him and stopped him before he hurt anyone else, before he took his own life. Good evening, everyone. I'm Bob Donaldson. Thanks for joining us.
I'm Aisha Husney in for Debbie tonight. Tonight, we're hearing from students who were inside that school, parents who raced over to pick them up, and the leaders who are calling for something, anything, to be done tonight.
CBS4 has team coverage for you tonight. Kelly Rinke takes us through what happened step by step. Brett Cast talked to emotional parents about how this incident was handled. And we begin tonight with CBS4 This Morning's Frank Mickens. He leads our coverage tonight in Richmond from Dennis Intermediate School. Frank?
Bob and Aisha, Superintendent Doug Carter with Indiana State Police says he cannot wait to talk about just how all the pieces came together today just right to make sure no one's child got hurt, no teacher got hurt. Everyone came out fine from this. But he says a lot of those details are going to have to wait until a little further along in this investigation. I can tell you right now, they are still looking into what happened here. In fact, the door that was shattered earlier today and allowed this young man to get in is right behind me, and they are still hard at work here. Here's what we do know is the critical 911 call came in at 8:21. That was 6 minutes after classes started. At 8:39, the Richmond Community School District sent out a tweet saying that all RCS buildings were on lockdown. At 9:02, the district tweeted Dennis Intermediate was secure. Somewhere in that gap of time is when the 14-year-old was confronted, got into the building, exchanged gunfire with law enforcement, and later killed himself. At 9:11, that's when all students at the school were reported safe, and the suspect, according to the tweet, was the only one who was hurt.
You know, days like today are hard, and you don't expect to have to do this when you go into the field of education. But I've got to tell you, first and foremost, how thankful I am that all of our students are safe.
Those critical moments, if you can imagine, were frightening for some kids. I just got finished talking with a group of young people who were talking about how they were told to take shelter. They were sitting in the corners of the classroom. They had heard gunshots, and they were just hoping that whoever was out there wasn't going to get to them. But let's get with Kelly Rinke here, who's been talking to authorities and piecing together what people are saying happened today. So walk us through a whole lot really is happening today.
Absolutely. I actually spoke to a woman who knows this family pretty well, and she says she actually took this teenager to this school a few times last year, and he was in the 8th grade, but state officials are telling us that he was not a current student. It was a shock to her and to witnesses. One in particular who lives just a few houses down says that she saw this armed teenager charge into that school.
Didn't understand before, and I'm not sure we're ever going to understand why this continues to happen.
Tragedy strikes another Hoosier community. It's the second school shooting in the state this year. Thankfully, this time, no students were hurt.
Until we change the way we view violence, we're never going to get any better.
Indiana State Police says they were warned shortly after 8 o'clock this morning of a potential violent act that could happen at Dennis Intermediate School in Richmond.
Had they not made that call, there is no doubt in my mind that we would be having a much different conversation here right now.
That call allowed local and state police to get to the middle school before a 14-year-old with a gun made it inside. Campus was already on lockdown.
This school was prepared. They activated their plan. They did it properly.
State police say the teen then shot the glass out of the locked door and ran inside. Officers chased after him. That's when the 14-year-old exchanged gunfire with police, and then he took his own life.
We just got in the door and I heard gunshots, about 3 of them, I want to say.
Peggy Lewis lives right across the street from the middle school. She says she actually spoke to the teen's father after this happened.
He just said that his son took all of his guns this morning and told him that if he didn't take him, I don't know if he told him to take him here or wherever, said if he didn't take him, he was going to kill him too.
Investigators are still trying to figure out how the student got the gun. A lot of unanswered questions as rattled parents hold their children tight tonight.
Kudos to whoever tipped off that it was even going on, because then it probably would have went a lot worse.
And now what you're looking at is state police at that door, and it looks like they are about to board it up. We are also learning that no officers were injured, and it is still unclear if that teenager was hurt by any gunfire exchanged by those police officers. Again, Frank, this is still in the very beginning stages of that investigation. And of course, as soon as we know any more updates, we'll be sure to pass that along.
All right, and there will be more information coming out. But for now, I tell you what, Kelly, we're going to go to Brett Cast now. And Brett is also here in Richmond. He's been talking with parents And Brett, tell us a little bit about what you've gathered today from them.
Yeah, well, Frank, as you can imagine, emotions were running really high as they got here to the school. We've been here since this morning. It was till about 2 o'clock. This area was really just packed with parents, and while they were very emotionally tense and just about everything that went down, they were also very relieved that this wasn't any worse.
That's my kid. You know, that's my kid.
Emotions were high this morning outside Richmond High School. It was just a few hours since parents got a phone call about a shooting at their kid's school.
Actually, no. No, I was never scared to send my kid to school. Now I'm scared to send my kid to school.